Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're asking something that might feel a bit controversial in the Agile world. Does management's role actually shrink, maybe even disappear, when you have a truly Agile Scrum team?
Yeah, it's this interesting idea, this agility paradox, right? The teams are self-managing, so what's left for the manager to do seems like less, maybe.
Exactly. But, what we're seeing in the sources is quite different. It points to something we're calling the invisible hand of leadership. It's about how management actions, sometimes really obvious things, sometimes super subtle stuff, they profoundly shape the whole environment the Scrum teams work in.
Yeah, like the air they breathe almost.
Totally.
Yeah.
Your decisions about what's important, what gets rewarded, that directly impacts whether a team can actually succeed and, keep succeeding.
And that invisible hand idea really shifts the focus. Managers aren't just watching from the sidelines. They're like the architects of that whole setup. So the big question this raises, especially if you're a manager listening, is, well, how sure are you that what you're doing right now is genuinely helping your Scrum teams? Or could it be, maybe unintentionally, putting obstacles in their way?
That's the core of it. So in this deep dive, our mission is really to unpack how leaders, how you can best back up your Scrum Masters, empower your teams, and help them deliver, maximum value. We want to get past those surface level ideas to stuff you can actually use.
Okay, let's dig in.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's just recap that big shift in thinking we've talked about.
Yeah.
Instead of the default question being, hey, what's wrong with this team? The sources really urge us to ask something deeper. Okay, what specific things in management, maybe our policies, or just the culture here, what might be accidentally causing these team problems?
It's total perspective flip, isn't it? Away from blaming the team towards looking at the whole system.
It really is.
And that's where this manager's mirror idea is so useful. Think of that example of the school management system Scrum team struggling.
Right.
Issues like, sprint planning, where the team just kind of nods and takes whatever's given.
The order taker style, yeah.
Exactly. Or daily scrums that feel more like giving a status report to the boss than a team sync up.
Or those sprint reviews where it's just a demo and feedback doesn't really seem to go anywhere.
Precisely. These often aren't just team failings. They're symptoms, right? Symptoms of bigger issues often rooted in management practices or the system itself.
Okay.
Like that order taker planning. Maybe it signals that the product owner doesn't have real authority, or maybe they haven't been given a clear vision for management to work with. The problem often starts higher up in the system you've helped shape.
That completely changes how you approach fixing things. It's not about fixing the team, it's about fixing the environment.
Yeah.
And the good news is there's a way forward. The sources talk about this management playbook.
Right. Not a task list to delegate.
No, exactly. It's concrete things, actionable strategies you as a manager can do to actively build an environment where Scrum can actually work properly. It gives you ways to support all the key events.
Okay, like what?
Well, for sprint planning, maybe it means making sure your product owner really can talk to the execs, gets the vision, feels empowered to say no sometimes.
Got it. So they can prioritize effectively.
Right. For the daily Scrum, it's maybe about you modeling good listening, asking about blockers, not just, what'd you do yesterday?
Yeah, fostering that peer-to-peer problem solving.
And the sprint review. It's about showing up, engaging with the feedback, making decisions based on it so the team sees it matters.
And the retrospective.
Crucial one. Fostering that psychological safety, making it okay to talk about the systemic stuff, the real impediments, without anyone fearing, getting blamed.
And that's the fundamental shift, isn't it? Your role changes. It's less about doing the work directly and much more about enabling the work of others. And when management provides that active support, it builds trust. It builds that psychological safety.
Which we know is absolutely foundational for Scrum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without that foundation, even the best teams will just spin their wheels. You're basically creating the fertile soil for agility to actually grow.
So here's something to think about as we finish. What if you committed, just for the next sprint, to one specific action to better support your Scrum Master or your teams?
Just one thing.
Yeah, maybe it's actively shielding them from an interruption. Maybe it's truly empowering that product owner with decision rights on something specific. How might that one action start to fundamentally shift the Agile journey for your whole organization?
Powerful stuff.
It really is. Oh. Managers, you really are the architects. You build the environment where these high-performing Scrum teams can either struggle or absolutely flourish.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into something really crucial for anyone working with Agile teams. it goes beyond just what the Scrum teams do. It's really about the huge impact management and leadership have on whether they actually succeed.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to pull out some key actionable stuff from the Scrum Leadership Playbook.
Yeah, and what's really, I think, game-changing in this playbook is this idea of leadership as like an invisible hand.
Invisible hand, okay.
Right. It's not about hovering over the team. Your main job, it shifts, you see, from being an overseer to becoming an enabler.
Enabler?
Yeah, shaping the whole environment, the ecosystem, so those self-managing cross-functional teams can, really hit their stride.
One thing that really jumped out from the playbook was how often things we call team problems.
Yeah.
They're actually symptoms, right?
Oh, definitely. Symptoms of deeper stuff.
Like organizational patterns or maybe management behaviors that haven't been looked at. So how does a leader actually, diagnose the system, not just the symptoms?
That's the core of it, really. Think about like a garden. If a plant's struggling, you don't just blame the plant.
Right. You check the soil, the sun.
Exactly. The soil, the water, the conditions. It's the same idea here. If a Scrum team isn't delivering, the leader's first thought shouldn't be, what's wrong with them? It should be, what's going on in the environment I've helped create. Management's influence, it really sets the stage for whether a team can live those Scrum values, commitment, respect, openness, and actually deliver value. And this really highlights why empowering Scrum Masters is so vital. They need that backing to help fix the system.
Okay. So foundational ideas set. How do leaders make this real? Let's dive into some specific actions for the different Scrum events, starting with sprint planning. That's where the team figures out the next chunk of work.
Right. For sprint planning, leaders need to actively champion team autonomy.
And what does that look like practically?
It means you publicly back the development team's right to decide your own capacity, to say, this is what we can realistically get done. No overriding them.
Okay.
And just as important, leaders have to communicate the strategic why, give them the context. Why does this sprint goal matter to the bigger picture?
The context piece. Crucial.
And finally, you got to shield them from pressure.
Shield them like a buffer.
Kind of, yeah. Protect them from those last-minute urgent demands or, unrealistic expectations that can just blow up their sprint plan. It's about ensuring a sustainable pace, quality work.
Got it. Okay, what about the daily Scrum, that quick daily sync-up? The playbook says leaders need to respect the team's space. Does that mean, no more drive-by status checks?
Light agreements sound pretty much. I mean, that meeting is for the development team. It's their plan for the day.
Right.
So as a leader, you really should only attend if they specifically invite you because there's an impediment, something blocking them that only you can remove.
And even then?
Even then, you observe. Silently. It's all about trusting the process. Trusting the team communicates internally. If you start asking for individual status updates, you just undermine their self-management. You pull it back to that old top-down way.
Which Scrum is trying to move away from.
Okay.
Makes sense. Then there's the sprint review, the showcase. Leaders or stakeholders there, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on the product, the value, where it's headed.
Exactly. And it's a key moment to model constructive feedback. Show how to talk about the product, what worked, what could be better, all aimed at improvement. Transparently.
And this connects to adaptation, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is where leaders need to ask themselves, am I genuinely open to changing course? You have to embrace adaptation. If the review reveals new insights, you need to support adjusting the product backlog.
So supporting the product owner.
Vitally important.
Yeah.
If you don't back those adaptations, you're not really agile, are you? You're just sticking to an old plan.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah. Last one. The sprint retrospective. The improvement engine.
Yeah.
Leaders need to publicly endorse its value, make it clear this isn't optional fluff.
Correct. But maybe the most critical piece here is championing psychological safety.
Psychological safety. Huge topic.
Huge. Creating that environment where the team feels safe enough to raise tough issues, admit mistakes, try things out without, fearing blame or punishment.
What does that look like when it's working well?
It looks like a team openly saying, hey, this part of our process didn't work this sprint, and then figuring out together how to fix it. No finger pointing.
And the leader's role?
Your role is to listen, really listen to those insights, and then act. Remove the systemic impediments, those bigger blockers, the organizational stuff the team can't fix themselves. That shows you're serious about improvement, that you're enabling it. It fosters a real learning culture.
So, wrapping this up then, for you listening, by really taking these commitments to heart, Leaders shift, don't they? They become these powerful enablers,
Yeah.
architects of a thriving, agile way of working.
Exactly. And remember, agility, it's not a destination you arrive at. It's a continuous journey, constant inspection, constant adaptation.
Right.
Not just for teams, but very much for leadership, too.
So let's leave you with that provocative thought straight from the playbook. What single action will you commit to from this deep dive? Remember, even those small, consistent changes from leadership, they can create really profound, positive shifts in your whole Agile ecosystem.